Hey, what's up? I'm Joel Madden, and this is Artist Friendly. On this episode, I'm talking with the lead singer, frontman, and co-founder of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame band, Kiss, Paul Stanley. Let's go.
I don't want no bad times. I don't want to have bad.
I'm not a hoarder, but I could possibly be one if I let myself go there.
I mean, you just find yourself, oh, I might need this one day. Well, then buy it, but you don't need to put it in storage. You don't need it in your house.
Do you think it's because I personally, I mean, I've talked about it in therapy, to be honest. I think it's something like growing up with not a lot and things being kind of hard to obtain when you're.
I think that's part of it. But you know, you tend to give something importance that it doesn't have. This is a chair.
Yes.
Whether your mom or dad sat in it, that's what you attach to it. It's a chair. So, you know, you don't need to keep things that you turn into something that they're not.
Like you give it too much power, importance because it's an old memory almost, or it's a emotional thing that maybe.
Memory should be up here.
Yeah.
You can just clutter your life. You can you can wind up with suitcases and warehouses full of stuff. So yeah, I think that's like an ongoing thing. I got to keep this because it was my mom's. Well, you know, your mom's not here, you know, or whoever it is.
Yeah.
So do you need that? Probably not.
Yeah, it's a trip, man. That's funny we're talking about this. I was just thinking about this yesterday, going through. I got at the new house. It's more of a personal relationship with stuff. Like you're saying, like I have all these boxes and I'm like ripping them out one at a time, and I don't want anyone touching my stuff. So that's the other thing is like my wife is a lot more like emotionally able to like not hold on to anything. She also grew up with, and different than me, she grew up in Beverly Hills, and I don't like differentiate us that way. Like I love how she grew up. I love her parents, but I grew up in like extreme poverty. And so I keep everything. Can't give that away. That could be worth something one day.
Yeah. I mean, people from the Holocaust generation, people who were where they had everything taken from them or lived with uncertainty, have that same characteristic of holding on. What happens if
uncertainty?
What happens if things go south? I need to have that. But I reached a point in my life where I kind of went, you know, when I die, do my kids need 5,000 Kiss t-shirts?
Yeah.
You know, it's like they're going to go, what the hell did dad leave this for me?
Yeah.
And in my own way, I went through the same thing with my parents. You look at things and go, it was theirs, and it's just stuff. It has nothing to do. You're not insulting their memory by getting rid of it.
Right.
Again, it's like it's a suitcase, or it's a bottle. It's what you attach to it. And the more you can let that go, the more free you are.
Yeah. It's sweet though it's sweet that we would want to remember people, and even though it'd be hard to let go of some physical things, the intention behind it is just holding on to someone because you love them, or you want to remember them. You don't want to let go totally, stuff like that.
Yeah. But the best memories are in your head.
Yeah.
My dad died, I think, about 4 years ago.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I had a blessed time with him.
Yeah.
And every time I think of him, he's with me.
Yeah.
He told me that he'd always be with me, and he's with me. So do I need his wallet? Do I need this? No.
Right.
So, but I do understand you want to have a certain standard or certain things, but hoarding too much, you know, if you have one or two things, I get it. But the more you can free yourself of that stuff, and that's something I only found as I got older, because at one point in my life, I had closets full of clothes. I mean, really, and it becomes
some cool ass clothes though, bro.
Yeah, but it becomes oppressive. It's kind of like, Jesus, you know, you're being suffocated by all this stuff.
Yeah, you're hauling around all this stuff. Get rid of it.
Yeah. Have people come over, take it. You know, I remember having somebody come over to my place, and I just opened all the closets and said, here's a suitcase. Take what you want. You know, I'm not going to miss it.
That's cool. That's some wisdom.
You know, it's you just unburden yourself. You hold on to so much stuff. You're so much more free.
Yeah. And it's true. I mean, I think about, my dad passed away in 2019. So like you, we had a very complicated relationship, but the last 10 years of our time together was incredible.
Mine too. Mine too. It was really, my dad lived to 101.
Oh, wow.
And the last 10 years were magic. I mean,
that's pretty special.
Yeah. Until that time, it was kind of like magnets that are turned the wrong direction. They can't quite cement, but the last 10 years were just priceless. So that's what I have.
Yeah. And I don't question it because it was so good and we had a good time. I think that's how it was meant to be. I think I had to go, the complications in our relationship, I didn't even think we chose them, but they were there. And as I got older, I realized like he was just like me. He was just a guy trying to figure out how to have a family.
Adults are just kids that grew up, but they're still somebody stumbling around trying to get it right. Yeah. Still got the same shit going on. So, we look at our parents or adults when we're kids as though they're perfect. They're no different than we are.
Yeah.
So if you go to the movies or if you read a book and it's not so great, but it's the end of it you remember, so that's the same thing that I experienced with my dad. And I think we can experience that with a lot of relationships. Yeah, there was some bad times, but it's all a means to an end. It's how it ends up.
And it's the real experience of living and being a human is these like complicated things. Love is complicated. Life is complicated. Parenting is fucking complicated. I always know, like, my kids are teenagers and I go, you know what? There's going to be some stuff that I didn't get right that you're going to have to work out. And I'm going to be here for it. Like, I'm here to sit with my kids. If they ever want to let me have it, I'm here to hear their experience. And like, but what's so nice to hear, and we're just diving in, but like to sit with you and hear you talk about that for a few seconds even is really comforting because you're this rock and roll legend. You have all this experience, right? I always wonder, there's that experience where you've had this legendary career that's spanned decades, but then there's the real person that's living their life.
And that's important for people to see because we tend to get caught up in deifying, looking at celebrities or musicians as perfect. And the best thing I can do is tell people I'm not. The less secrets you have, the more free you are.
Yeah, right.
So the more you can say to people who you are, you're not carrying that anymore.
Yeah.
And then you also find people going, oh, you too? So when you're talking about your dad in the last 10 years, somebody else like me will go, me too.
Yeah.
So when you put it out there, you find out that you're not that different than everybody else. And it's healthy for you and for them. No secrets.
I agree with that. I think it's harder to practice, but I think that's also just like the wacky world of like being, you start as a kid, you start a band in a garage with your friends or, you have a dream and then you go on the ride and you work really hard and you do everything you possibly can, but you could never expect how it's going to affect your life in success and failure and all the things.
Well, because you can only understand, you only comprehend what's within your realm of experience. You don't know, I want to be famous. Well, what does that mean? I'm going to get girls and I'll get money. Yeah, that's true. But it's all the other stuff. Oh, it also means that these people aren't going to like me and this person's going to be jealous. And, there's so much that goes along that you can't know ahead of time.
Yeah.
It's a work in progress. It's, you don't know, you got to turn the page. You don't know what's on the next page until you get there. Yeah. So, you stumble through and give yourself a break.
Yeah.
And telling your kids, hey, I'm going to make some mistakes is probably something that your dad didn't do.
Right.
And that's great for your kids to know that you can say you're sorry or that you can say I made a mistake. I think there's a generation that couldn't do that because they thought it made them less. It actually makes you more.
Yeah.
When you tell your kids that you screwed up, then they look at you a whole lot differently. So, yeah, I think we can either replicate what we saw or we can remember it and go, that's not the way to be. I always say I'm who I am because of my parents and in spite of my parents.
Yeah, same. I feel the same way, man.
You know, and when I make a decision with my kids, it's like, how would I like to have had that handled? What would have been the best way? Because we tend to just do what we remember or what we saw at home. And at some point, if we're lucky, we go, wait a minute, that was fucked up. You know, that wasn't good.
Yeah, we can stop and go, like, if that was me, which it was me, my kids I think they're better than they're more well-behaved, I think.
Of course. And they see you more realistically because you're telling them that you're an adult and you're not perfect.
Yeah.
And you're going to do things wrong.
Yeah.
You know, I'm here for you and there are things you may have to work on.
Yeah. It's interesting being also in a rock band. Do you feel like people want us to do do things wrong?
Well, I think that sometimes people glamorize the worst.
Yeah.
Wow, he's a rebel. He's got a needle in his arm. You know, it's like people want to live vicariously by you doing stupid, dangerous things that they wouldn't do. Oh, he's a real rock star. He's living on the edge. Well, that's kind of like looking up at a building and seeing somebody on the edge and telling them to jump. I don't think that's something to either emulate or put in a positive light. It's, you know, at some point in your life, you either roll up your sleeves and get it right or work on it, or put a gun in your mouth and a needle in your arm. You know, you got to make choices. But to look at people, to glamorize people at their worst as though it's cool, it's a cartoon.
Yeah. I think about it, and I think, you know, music in general has a very high mortality rate, and it's glorified. When artists, I think at our core, we're like working shit out in front of everyone. We're like, it's a very therapeutic process of making music and going on and making art like that. But we're actually, I think, like, we want to bring people together to have a good time, to feel better about themselves. And that's at the core of like music and rock music and live shows, which.
Yeah, but we also want to get people together because it makes us feel better.
Yeah.
And that's something you work on over time, because that's not the solution either.
Yeah.
It's like fame should give you the opportunity to work out what needs fixing.
Yeah.
The reason we get in front of a crowd, well, that's abnormal. To be comfortable in front of a big crowd, that's not, why do you need that? Then you can continue being a performer, but you kind of get away from that being the drug.
Right.
There are people in bands, there are people who are always on tour because they have no life.
Right.
That's their life. I reached a point years ago where I went, you know, who am I when I'm home? Who am I when I look in the mirror? You know.
That's fucking awesome, dude. That's nice to hear. At what point in your life did you realize that?
You know, I was always struggling, you know, and like a lot of people, I thought success was the answer.
Me too.
And then you get it and you go, I still got all these same issues, but they think I'm perfect. And then you just got to, you know, are you going to live a lie? Are you going to let people think you're perfect when you know you're not? Or are you going to work on yourself? And that's, you know, that's where therapy or whatever you need to do comes into it.
Yeah, some form of like personal growth, personal development, whether it's therapy or I like therapy. I like being able to talk to someone that I respect, that helps me work out the core of something and I need to talk to someone who doesn't value fame, who doesn't value money, who values kind of integrity, values in personal success, which I look at as like personal growth, happiness. I mean, this is very therapeutic for me, but I really like having a place to go and work shit out where the values are right.
Well, The whole purpose with therapy is to find somebody who has no vested interest. They're not there with any agenda except to help you look at yourself
Right.
and figure things out. I think when people sometimes start therapy, they're looking for answers. Well, they can help guide you to finding your own answer, but nobody can give you an answer. It doesn't work like that. When people start going, well, if I were you, well, you're not me. You never lived a minute in my shoes. So right then and there, I'm not interested in what you have to say. But somebody who has no interest and can just help you look at your own life or your own decisions, that's, if you're willing to put in the work, and it's a lot of work. If you just go in there to chit chat, you're going to get out of it what you put into it. But you can either live with a toothache and decay in your tooth, or you let them dig it out. It doesn't go away on its own.
Yeah.
But you do the work, you come out a lot better.
That's cool. That's cool to hear. Yeah, it's funny. I was like very excited to talk to you. It's like great place to start because I didn't know where to start because there's so much to talk about, and it's not every day you get to sit down with you.
Well, that's very nice of you to say.
It's so legendary and so hard to accomplish what you have in your life. And so if I ever get the chance to sit down with someone that I admire and respect what they dedicated their life to, it's a big deal for me because I love music and I love the dream. I love inspiring people for the, I always think like out there, somewhere out there, there's a kid that picks up a guitar and wants to write a song and wants to believe that they can, do something that matters.
You were that kid.
Yeah.
I was that kid.
Yep.
So yeah, I've never stopped being a fan.
Me too.
I meet certain people and I'm still in awe of them. That's part of my DNA. There were certain things that changed my life in terms of music or going to a concert. And that doesn't change. It has nothing to do with what I accomplish. I accomplish things because of that. And I'm still tied to the appreciation and the wonder of some people or bands.
Yeah, their creative force, their talent, their take on it, the way they say it, the way they do it. But then also, it's not often someone creates, a special brand of music and art that stands the test of time and lives in the world in a way that is so special and important. And I think Kiss is, no one can argue with that. This is my first time meeting anyone from Kiss, so this is really cool for me. But then you get to meet one of the guys who created this force, and immediately sitting with you, I'm like, oh, I loved Kiss, but now I know, and I've seen enough to know that I respect you guys as people, but to actually be in your presence and sit with you, I go, okay, I fucking know exactly why. So that's nice to experience as a fan. I mean, you guys kind of wrote the book on creating this brand that stands out.
We wrote a chapter. The book is real big.
Yeah, the book is big.
Yeah.
But it's a good chapter.
Yeah.
I know you paint too.
Yes. Yeah. I paint almost 5 days a week.
Amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. I really think that the more challenges you take on and the more outlets you find to express yourself, the more you find out who you are. People limit themselves. Oh, I can't do that. Well, other people can tell you can't. Don't be one of them. Be an advocate for yourself. I tell people, if you paint that water bottle and it doesn't look like a water bottle, doesn't mean it's not good.
Yeah.
So give yourself some freedom to find out who you are and do it without fear. There's no way or reason for why. How about why not?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think, my brother paints. He's a very good painter. When you achieve art at a high level in music, or say someone's in film or whatever, and then people start to only see you at first hand, they only see you as that thing that they know you as, which is expected and understood. But artists are creative in everything they do, And it's not too far-fetched to think that a really good songwriter would also be a really good writer or a painter or, creator of other things. And I found that with his art too. That's why I was interested when I saw that you painted. I was interested in that because he's not doing it for the result. He doesn't actually, you guys strike me as similar. He doesn't care about the result. He's not out here to sell paintings. He cares about making good paintings that he likes, and he enjoys the process. And I think it's actually art in its purest form of someone just doing something because they love it.
Well, it should start like that. I think when you try to second guess the public is where you go wrong.
Yeah.
Because if you try to please yourself, you'll please somebody else.
Right. If
you're just trying to make yourself happy, somebody else will be made happy. But if you're trying to second guess people, it's no different than a relationship. If you meet a woman, or if whoever you get involved with, and you second guess who they want you to be, at some point you can find out they go, I don't like that. I thought that's who you wanted me to be. You just be yourself. And as far as create for yourself and let it do what it's going to do. I didn't start painting. I started painting because I was getting divorced and I was miserable. And a friend of mine said, you should paint. I went, okay. So I started painting for that reason. I've done very, very well in terms of selling art.
Awesome.
But it came from me wanting to do it. And at one point it was so successful that I took like a year off. I just went, it's turning into what I didn't want it to be. So if you start with the right intentions and, check yourself once in a while.
Yeah.
It works out pretty well.
Yeah, it's funny because that's kind of how music started too, huh? Just, it's similar.
Yeah, you do it because you love it.
Yeah.
And then maybe you go, hey, this could do well, or this could become popular, or this could take the place of me having to have a 9-to-5 job, which I don't want to do.
Yeah.
And then you just chart your course, or did I ever think this would last 50 years? I was hoping for 5. When we started out, a good band lasted 5-6 years. If somebody said you'd be on stage at 70, flying across the arena and all this stuff, I'd say you're out of your mind. But life is what happens, while you're making plans.
Yeah. But there's got to be something. I find there's a certain kind of person that I think I am one of, and I suspect you are too. When I started, there was never a moment where I didn't want to make it. I was, from the very beginning, I was like, and however long that meant, I just wanted to go. And I find that I approach everything that way. Whether it's this show or this building in this company or anything that I do, from just like the band, as soon as we start. And I think we've learned how to refine our process so that we are, thoughtful. But right when we started the band, we were like, we're going to be a big band. We're going, like, first band practice. And I find like we have that fire in us with everything.
I think you can want something, and then it's a matter of what you're willing to do to make it happen.
That's right.
Everybody will say, oh, I want to be famous, but how much you're willing to do to make it happen lets you see how important it is. I lived 24/7 wanting to succeed while everybody else was going to college and becoming this and that.
That's right.
And thinking I was out of my mind. I was like, this is my obsession. This is my calling. And I put every ounce of my energy into doing it. That's how you find out how much something means to you, is how much you're willing to work to achieve it.
That's right. How uncomfortable you're willing to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a lot of things are doable. It doesn't mean they're easy.
And it's humbling in the early stages of any endeavor, when you're trying to basically show or convince people or do whatever you do when you take it out. We forget sometimes. When I think about Kiss and I go, oh, I've never really thought about the early days of like what that must have been like before trying to make it, trying to convince people, trying to show, trying to find your way.
We were crazy.
Yeah.
People laughed at us. I mean, we weren't cool. In New York, there was a whole kind of like glitter scene of a lot of bands. we weren't part of it, and they thought they were all hanging out in clubs and we were rehearsing. And then once we started on the road, literally we'd go out on stage in a club or somewhere and people would be hitting each other and laughing at us. They weren't laughing at the end of the night. When we were playing clubs, before we had a deal, we were doing Strutter, Black Diamond, Firehouse, Deuce. But yeah, I mean, it's a lonely road sometimes.
Yeah.
But you're on a crusade.
Yeah.
You have a calling.
Don't you love those guys though? Those guys that would do that. Those guys that would show up at that club and fucking grind it out when it seemed like no one cared, when it seemed like, is this going to work out? It feels like it's, you're pushing against
faith
right.
in yourself. I think our first show was at a club called Coventry. And I think there were 6 people there, including the bartender. And we went out there and we played all those songs that are on Kiss Alive for nobody. But we didn't do it for those 5 or 6 people. We did it for Madison Square Garden. We did it for what we believed we were.
It's the dream.
Yeah, the dream. But also a dream is only a dream unless you're willing to work for it.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody can dream to be this or that or the other thing, but then you have to come up with a map. You have to come up with a plan. It's not good enough to dream something. You have to decide how you're going to make it real.
I think about that. I don't know. I like to imagine you guys back then. I like to imagine what that experience was because I know we did the same thing. We were pushing we booked a gig in Annapolis, Maryland at this bar called Armadillos. And it was just like another bar downtown where like the Naval Academy midshipmen would go drink and everyone locally. It's a real bar street on Main Street in Annapolis. But it was where there was a like very vibrant like music scene. And we went up there because there was this band, Jimmy's Chicken Shack. They were like a local band that got big. They had like a big hit on alternative rock. And in the 90s, it was like radio was everything. Alternative radio was like our world. And if we could just get on that HFS, and it was important to us. And it was really important in our development as well, just dreaming like that and having that local scene to like aspire to try and find our way. Anyways, we booked a gig at this bar every Sunday. And the deal was like a couple $100. We had to bring all the equipment. We had to bring the PA, the drums, everything. And we moved up there and we rented this like row house. We had no car. And we would, every Sunday, we would push all the gear. It was about a mile to Main Street from where we lived on skateboards. We would push it back and forth
But
all day.
When we did things, I used to rent our truck. Sometimes it was like it looked like a mail truck.
Yeah.
And those are the things that we didn't, even back then I went, one of these days I'm going to look back on this as the magic times, the magical
wise.
times, being on a subway after a show with me and Gene, and we still have a little bit of makeup on our faces. And we had to just bring the truck back to Long Island City and drop it off. And yeah, those times.
No iPhones, no easy route to, you know what I mean?
Nothing. We would load our equipment into places in the afternoon so people thought we had a road crew. Yeah, and we had big cabinets like that we bought. They had no speakers in them, but it looked good. So we tell the guy, don't put lights on there because you can see right through it.
Yeah.
But that's the cool stuff.
That's it.
That's the cool stuff.
Doing what you can with what you got.
Yeah. Putting flyers up. It became a very normal thing for bands to do. But we were a band in New York that was putting flyers up all around the city for shows that we were doing. We couldn't play most clubs because they wanted top 40 or whatever was on the radio, and we weren't doing that. So we would most of the time rent a ballroom in a hotel and do shows. And the KISS logo that's on one of the posters for the Hotel Diplomat that I drew with a ruler, and it's not perfect. That's the KISS logo today. That one.
That's sick.
And I did it on my parents' coffee table on a piece of white paper. And when we got a record deal, they said, do you want us to redraft that? I said, got us this far. And if you look at it to this day, the S's aren't completely lined up and one's a little thicker than the other. So yeah, those are the magic times.
Our conversation continues in part 2.
Times